Hi, I'm Christina.
I'm Maya from
Bookworm
Dreams, and welcome to a new video.
So, as you can see, welcome to our August wrap-up. So we will just tell you the books that we read. I read 10 books, so I read 3 YA fantasies, 3 fantasies, 1 fantasy romance, 1 dark academia, 1 fiction, and 1 romance, like general romance. Contemporary romance.
Contemporary.
Yes.
Okay.
Maya?
I read 7 books. 2 were fantasy, 1 was fantasy romance, 1 was a historical romance, 1 was sci-fi, and 1 was literary fiction. A word I cannot pronounce.
Yeah.
Literary.
It's very difficult to pronounce it.
Yeah. I have problems with R sounds. I can't even say. I have to have to say architecture in creation and in English. I have to stop myself and then be very careful how I say it.
Oh.
Arquitectura, because I can't say it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just these 2 words, nothing else.
Okay, so I'll start us off and talk about the vacation vlog that I did, which will be linked up above and down below. So basically, I read 5 books over my vacation. I read the entirety of the Devabad series, which is the City of Brass, the Kingdom of Copper, and the Empire of Gold, courtesy of Maya and my other friends for my birthday. So this is basically an Arabian-inspired story about Nari, who lives in Egypt and has some healing abilities and accidentally summons a jinn who takes her on this grand adventure to the mythical city of Devabad, where the jinn live, and there's a lot of world building in the series. There's a lot of political stuff, history, and I think that's like one of the strongest points in the series, the world building and the political stuff. There is some romance in there, but it is more of just like a subplot that's not entirely relevant to the overall story, and actually it's more just about the world, and I found it utterly engaging and I love it. And the first 2 were a reread for me and I love them again, so brilliant. I even cried in the last one. So
of course.
Yeah. Then I read Radiance, which you also read, I think.
I did.
By Grace Draven. So this is the story of Ildiko and Brishan. Ildiko is human. Brishan is some kind of night
creature, lizard thing with claws and stuff.
With claws and like pointy teeth and stuff. And he's gray and has some kind of weird eyes. But they're betrothed to one another and wed because they're like the spares of the family. And basically the entire book is about them getting to know each other and forming a bond. So there's not really that much even world building or like it's literally them like having
focus on their relationship and
dinners and doing stuff together. It's literally like a romance with fantastical elements. Actually.
Yes. It's pretty awesome. I loved it because there was no like unnecessary drama. You know how there's like in every other romance, there's something that happens in the third act. Yes, thank you. That's just like, you know, to ramp up the everything. So they either break up or something happens, whatever. In this one, there's none of that, and I loved it because there's no necessary drama. They're just together, and there's just honesty and friendship, and it was awesome.
It was so refreshing to read. And I can't wait to read the next installment. So and finally I read. Oh, where are you? Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. Sorry, did I hit you almost again? Okay, I'm so sorry. I love this book. I absolutely love it. I didn't have any expectations, so maybe that's why I love it so much.
Cool.
I just so this is the story of Alex, who can see ghosts, and she is recruited to this kind of secret society in Yale. Yale. To be this kind of almost like a police for other folk who secret societies who dab in magic, and like there's different secret societies that do different kinds of magic, and there's like a lot of actually world building also in this one, like and we basically there was a murder and we follow Alex as she tries to discover what is happening. There's also the point of view of Darlington, who is her mentor, and something happened to him also, which is, I think, something that will be dealt with in the second book. But it also touches upon that because it's important to the plot line. And like one thing that might be iffy to people is that the plot is not linear. Yeah. So it kind of jumps from one time to the other, from one person to the other. And so it's, you know, if that bothers you, maybe it's not the book for you, but I absolutely loved it. It was so intriguing, so interesting, and I can't wait to read the next one.
Cool. Yeah. All right, so I read 9 books on my vacation, but 5 of them were in August because I went on vacation in July and then, you know, it crossed over to August. So the 5 books that I read during my vacation in August was Radiance by Grace Raymond, we just talked about, Lightning Struck Heart by DJ Clune, which is the most ridiculous fantasy adventure romance book that I've ever read. Oh, really? It's my second try reading that book, and you definitely have to the audiobook is it's great, but you definitely have to be in the mood for the ridiculousness of this book and of the how do I say this politically, extraness of all the characters. So basically we follow Sam, who is a wizard's apprentice, and he is in love with what's his name, Ryan, yes, who is a knight. And at the beginning of the book, Ryan gets engaged to the prince Justin, who is an asshole, and that sort of breaks Sam's heart because he's totally in love with Ryan. But then something happens and someone kidnaps the prince. Yes, a dragon or something comes and takes the prince away. So Sam and Ryan have to go get the prince back. And also they have hornless gay unicorn. Then there's a half giant called Tiggy. I mean, every time what's his name, Gary, the unicorn is mentioned, always the word gay is connected to. He always says about himself and everything. So that's what I mean by the extraness of everybody. So you have to be in a specific mood for that. So but yeah, it is so fun. It's so ridiculous. It's just like, it's such a perfect summer read. The last third is very angsty because of stuff. I can't tell you because it will be spoilers. But it's so angsty, but you know, it's a series that I think has 5 books. And
I heard awesome stuff about DJ Clune.
Yeah, he's very good. He's very good. But for this book, I had to be in like specific.
Is it a he or she? I don't know.
Oh, I'm assuming it's a him. I have no idea. We'll check and we'll tell you. I mean, he wrote The House on the Cerulean Sea. If you watched that, if you read that.
I have not.
Yeah, that's a great book. But anyway, I read that and it's awesome. The next one I read was My Darling Duke by Stacey Reid. So this is basically a historical romance in which we follow Catherine, who makes up that she is engaged to this dude Alexander, who was the big thing 10 years ago in London society. And she does that because her family is like on the verge of being poor, but they actually are poor. And she wants to make sure, since she's the oldest, that her younger sisters have better chance to get married to like more reputable men or more rich men, so you know their family doesn't, you know, propadne. What do I say?
Oh my god.
Basically falls to ruin. That's the word.
Yeah.
Right. So that. And basically Alexander kind of hears that there's a woman going around saying that she's married to him, and since he basically went away from society because he had a horrible accent, he's all like scarred and he's in a wheelchair, he can't walk. And so he's like very intrigued and he wants to meet her, he goes to meet her, and then stuff happens. Then I read something called Sama Igrai by Ivan Lutz. So this is a Croatian author. This is a science fiction about a society who lives on the net, and the net is this like very cool internet thingy that basically controls everything.
So it's like Ready Player One,
but much more. Ready Player One was just used for entertainment.
Yeah.
But this net is used for everything. So basically, if you are not part of the net, you don't have access to doctors, lawyers, like stuff for society. And if you disconnect yourself from the net for like 60 seconds, you get like a warning. And you lose some of those things. So the idea is great. The book is not. Execution, yes, the execution. I mean, I read like the reviews. Obviously, people like it because it has very high reviews on Goodreads, and people seem to really praise the author. This is like his best work or whatnot. But I
What didn't you like?
Didn't like the constant diatribes about the connections between humans and technology. I did not like the vagueness of the sci-fi. I like my sci-fi to be like specific. Don't talk about, oh, we are impulses in the net and we like no. Yeah, I didn't like the vagueness. There wasn't a likable character in the bunch, and there is a bunch of characters.
Okay.
All the women were written like, because we see the story through the eyes of men mostly, and one female character. But that female character also doesn't see her worth. Basically, her main goal was to be. She's like a helper to. Okay, so this story, it's centered around a basketball game that is being played by robots. So robots are being controlled by these people, and these people have helpers who like make sure assistants and stuff.
Okay.
So one of the female characters that we follow, we have a point of view in the book, is like an assistant to one of the players.
Oh, okay.
And basically her whole like, not personality, but it's like, oh, I love him. Does he love me? I have to, it's sort of that. And the male character that we follow, the I guess the hero, but he's not a hero. Basically, every woman that he meets, he rates her on like the fuckability level, and it's like it was so fucking annoying, and I did not really appreciate the book, even though the cover is beautiful and perfect.
Yes.
But the book is not. So yeah, that's
shame.
Yeah. Next, I totally and I read Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, which was a book for Read Harder challenge that we were doing with our friends.
Yes, I also read it.
And in it we follow Keiko, who works in a convenience store. Basically, the whole book is about people who don't fit in society, what they can do to fit in society, and should they do it, basically. And it was interesting. I liked it, more than I thought I would. And there were definitely some interesting quotes and thoughts about fitting into society and what you have to do to fit in, and, whether that is okay or not. Yeah. But
I think we also benefited a lot from having a person in our book club who actually knows about Japanese culture, and she explained to us a lot of stuff that seemed really weird. For example, like the woman Keiko works 8 hours a day in the store.
Yeah.
And our friend explained to us that actually that's considered part-time in Japan. Because like throughout the book, everybody's kind of nagging her about not having a real job. And I remember being really like, why do you nag her not? Like my mom's like a cashier at a convenience store. Mm-hmm. And like, she works her ass off, like that's a real job. And I was like, why is this a thing? And when our friend explained it to me, it was like, oh, okay. So like it gave us like another, I think, layer of understanding and context and everything. So, but overall, even without the context, it's just interesting to like.
It's an interesting like slice of life sort of book.
Yeah.
But yeah, a very, very interesting view of.
There's also one thing. It's not explicitly mentioned, but some of the things that Keiko does indicate that she might be on the spectrum.
Yes.
But it's not explicitly said, so we cannot, judge or say it is or it isn't because we don't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. But I have heard other reviewers also talk about it, that she has some signs of being on the spectrum. So it's just interesting. It was just an interesting read, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, is that it for?
That is it for my vacation.
Okay. So as I was walking my dog, I read 3 audiobooks, one after another, from the Spellslinger series, which we read like 2 years ago. And we really loved the first book. Maya actually read the second one. I didn't continue, and now I read 3. I read the second book, which is Shadow Black, the third book, which is Charmcaster, and the fourth book, which is Soulbinder. So this is the story of Kellen from the Jontep tribe, which is a tribe that has magical abilities in this world. And they spark like bands around their arms. Yes, these are arms. For different types of magic. So there's this competition where they have to, like
show the magic.
Show the magic, and like it was great. Like I have to say, the first book was great. It was so interesting. I love competition, so that was
yes,
very good. And in the first book, we are joined with Farius.
Mm-hmm. But tell them why we are following Kellen and what his problem is in the first book.
I don't remember.
Oh, sorry. Kellen's problem in the first book is that he doesn't actually have any magic, and he's hoping
we already know that. Okay.
And he's hoping as the competition is drawing near that his magic will magically spark, and when it doesn't, he meets Farius, who is teaching him tricks.
Yeah.
How to sort of survive
without magic.
In the world where magic is the most important thing, and everybody sort of has magic.
And he gets a familiar. Is that in the first book too? Yes, he gets a familiar.
What, the ferret?
It's a squirrel cat.
Sorry, squirrel cat.
It's a squirrel cat.
I haven't read it in a while. Yes, I guess. See, I don't remember. I read it a long time ago.
Anyways, it's YA fantasy. I think after reading the 3 books, it's fast-paced, but I think it's very young. I think it really is like geared towards the YA.
Yeah.
Like a lot of YA can be read by adults, but I think this is very YA. Like throughout the second, third, and fourth book is list. Actually, no, there's not. No, I mean, there is, but it's really not that important. Like. For me, I felt like I was really reading about a teenager because like shit happens to him. He, I don't know, like as the books go on, he has to like, I don't know, discover some kind of mystery. Then he gets into some political intrigues in another country. Then he goes to like find his people outside of the Gen Temple. Like, and he's pretty like. Throughout this journey, he's really like what I wrote like just a second, useless. I wrote useless. Like
I was like self-centered, selfish.
No, like because he tries, he really does try, but he just fails all the time.
Okay.
And I can imagine that like because most heroes are like capable and they can do everything. He was just like so like real. Like yeah. I need somebody older to get me out of this shit, and then like need help. But like literally, as you go through the book, you see how he grows, how he applies things that Farius teaches him, that Rikers teaches him, how he applies it to his life. But he's still young in the end. Okay. So that's what like irks me a bit, and like, why does he have to so many times say the word "karat" and the phrase? And form somatic shapes with my fingers. I cannot understand. He does.
Isn't that part of the magic system, though?
He has one spell that he can do.
And he's
one. And every time he does it, for God's sakes, every single time he does it, he says exactly those words. And I'm like, every time I hear, like as I'm listening, I hear like, and now I'm gonna use this. And I'm like, no, like don't say it. Like say it in some other way. Don't say somatic shapes. And those, it's like so.
You should try the adult stuff.
No, but I really like the writing. I really like Sebastian de Castel's writing. So I will definitely be trying Trader's Blade, Redcoats. Greatcoats. So I will try. But like, oh my gosh, that was like. But the one other thing, which is why I like his writing, is I chuckle so much throughout all the books.
Yeah.
Like, because he fails so much, and he knows he fails. He is very, like, cynical. Like, both him and Rikers and Farius, and, like, they're jabbing at each other, and it's so, like, it's fun to read about them. But I've had it after these 3. I have to, like, stop before I do the last 2. But anyways, yeah, that's what I was reading. Maya!
Well, August is was also the month of Draconathon, which is a month-long readathon where you're supposed to read 5 books that are connected to 5 different dragons and 5 different props. Now, I do have a TBR video for this, and so today is the 28th of July, right? I think it's the 28th.
It's of August.
August, sorry, 20th of August. And I have one book left, which I think I'm not going to read.
Why?
Because I don't feel like it. Because I DNF'd the last two I started. So I'll just tell you the ones I finished. So I finished Yapodine Muke by Ivana Delac. I do have a reading vlog of that one, so you can check that out. So just in short, we follow Yapodina, who is described as a middle-aged woman, and she's 1 year younger than I am in the book. So I was like, what the fuck, man?
So she's my age.
Right, yeah, right, you're 89, right, you're...
Damn, we're middle-aged.
Apparently, in that time. So basically, this is not fantasy. This is
what is it?
historical
It's like
thriller.
18th century?
It's the 19th century. Electricity.
Okay.
Think about, no, that's the 20th, right? Electricity. Think about electricity and factories. So the beginning of the 20th century. So basically, follow Yapodina, who is trying to save her late father's factory. So after her father died, he left her the factory. The factory is used to build certain machinery and stuff. And so basically the first half of the book, she goes to the science fair that is held in Zagreb so she can find business for her factory. And there she meets a mysterious Russian who basically tells her, I will give you a whole lot of money if you make this dragon-like machine, transportation thing for me. And you can't say anything to anyone. You can't, like, this has to be top secret. And that's when the thriller stuff happens. And, you know, stuff develops from that. Awesome. The other part, which I was pleasantly surprised with, is there's a romance angle here. So basically, when she's at the science fair, she meets Frano, who is the son of her previous biggest client, who basically dumped him because she's a woman in charge of a factory. And she's like having some hang-ups about that. But they sort of start a relationship that then goes on throughout the story. There's also the suffragette movement there's also talk about electricity and Šibenik being the first city in Croatia to get electricity. There's so many stuff and places that I've been. Basically Šibenik got this. Yes, Šibenik gets I was gonna leave it here. So Šibenik got his electricity because of Krka.
That's a river.
Yes, but there's also a national park there. In the national park, city below. Did you?
Yes.
Okay, there's a part where you can learn about the hydroelectricity stuff, and that's mentioned in the book. And she's talking about that, and she's talking about this in Zagreb and in Karlovac and everything. I'm like, oh, I've been there.
That's Karlovac up there.
Yeah, as a city in Croatia. And I'm like, I've been there, and it sort of gave this an extra layer of awesomeness because she's talking about places and things that I've known and that I've been and mentioned, and I can and it's just awesome. So yeah, I read that, really liked it. So that one was for Prompt Nano Bolele. So this is basically to read a book with a beautiful cover. So that's that. Then I read The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. Also listen to it on audio. This is for the Prompt Angot. This is basically chaos. So basically this is book one in the Ninth Reign trilogy, in which we follow several characters. One of them being, I forget his name, Tormalin, whatever his name is.
It's not written.
Tormalin, the Oathless. So basically in this world, Tormalin is part of a race that used to survive by drinking the sap of this fancy ass tree. And this race is they're sort of the defenders of the world or continent. Because they defend everybody else from... And now, I was confused about this part, because I thought they were aliens. Okay. So they are aliens, because there's lots of talk about them coming from above, and ships that are behemoths, that are like ships, that are in the sky. One of them is in the sky. It's basically like the new moon or something. And basically they come and they destroy everything. And in the last, so every time there's like a campaign against them, it's called the Reign. So in the last 8th reign, they destroyed this tree that gave them strength and everything. So his race is slowly dying out. So he basically leaves his city to sort of find a cure. But he spends the next 50 years, drinking and having fun around the world. And basically then he meets Vincenza Vintage, and her her interest is in this sort of learning about this enemy that is attacking them. Since they come so sort of not rarely, but every couple of hundreds of years, and humans have shorter lifespans other than Tormalin and his race. So people aren't all that interested in the people, in the enemy. So she is interested in that, and because of that, people think that she's eccentric. And she basically hires him to be her bodyguard, whatever, mercenary person. So they go around and trying to, learn stuff about everything.
Okay.
Then that's the two characters we follow. The third character we follow is Moon. No, Noon. Noon. She is a fell witch. Witches are humans who have a certain power that they basically they can shoot fire out of their whatever when they take life energy from things like people, animals, whatever. And basically they're being imprisoned, all the fell witches, because a religion, of course, arose a couple of millennia ago. Fell witches being evil, women being evil, and so on. And basically they're imprisoned and used to create this drug thing. So Noon escapes from prison, hooks up with Tourmaline and Vintage, and together shit happens. And it's chaos because Noon is very explosive and she sets things on fire. And it's so good. The whole story, everything, and just basically it's awesome. Loved it so much. Then the two books that I DNF'd. So there was a book for the prompt Chiwen where I had to read something by author from Asia, and for that I picked Yoon Hali's Phoenix Extravagant, and I got to like 50 or 60% of that, and then I DNF'd because I did not care at all what was happening in the book. And it was like our main character, so we follow Jeb. They are an artist, and they basically live in this society in which I think their people were conquered, but they're sort of part of the society, but not really. And so he has to like change his name because he has like a specific name that is specific to his, like, let's say, tribe. And he changes his name, and they change their name, and they apply to for like a government job of being an artist, and you can like draw on the mechanical stuff. I have no idea. Anyway, doesn't get the job, and then gets blackmailed into joining the military sort of branch of the government, and in which they are supposed to work on a mechanical dragon. That's where the dragon comes in the book. And the mechanical dragon everything is all top secret, you can't leave and whatever. And the mechanical dragon did something, and Jeb, our main character, is trying to figure out what, and then later on he's trying to like liberate the dragon. Now my problem was, as I said, did not care at all. Not about the characters, not about the plot. Basically at some point our main character gets kidnapped and gets tortured. I'm like, okay, now what? I'm like, literally my
it's like, could you just be tortured and be done with it?
Yes, because when my impulse is to basically skip read, because I was reading it on Kindle, to basically skip the pages to get to something interesting. Aww. That's when I DNF'd. I was like, no, I'm not.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. So that was one book. The second book was the Blaze Wrath Games by sorry, I can't say. I can't see the first name of the author, but the last name is Ortiz. Basically, Blaze Wrath Games was
Amaras. I think it's Amaras.
I don't know. I have bad, handwriting, which is bad for a teacher. But what can you do? Basically, this is a YA book, and it's also the group book for this readathon, in which we follow Lana, who wants to be part of the Blaze Wrath Games. And Blaze Wrath Games. I can't speak anymore. I've been talking for too long. So Blaze Wrath Games is like it's like the Olympics, but with dragons, and there's like one sport. And she wants to be part of Puerto Rico team. And she sort of becomes that through some not magical, but some very convenient shit happening. And there's the whole mystery of a rogue dragon going around killing things and people and everything and wanting to end the games. Now, my problem with this was that it is YA, and it definitely reads as YA, which means that is the character is awful. The writing is even more awful. One would say tragic. And just basically, you know how when teenagers demand things and then just immediately get them? Yeah. So like, for example, she's a 17-year-old who's not really all that like athletic, let's say. She jogs. And her part in the Blaze Wrath Games would be to run around and take something like a disc and then bring it to the top of the mountain. Okay. And to get to the top of the mountain, she has to fight the other fighters who basically fly in with their dragons and then sort of drop down on these zones, and she has to fight them. She has no martial art experience. She jogs. And she becomes the member, like the national member of an Olympic team, level team, And basically, of course, the beginning sucks at everything, and then later on, oh, I have to have motivation, and then she's like better, I mean, like immediately, whatever. And she basically somehow, hello Dogo, basically somehow meets the president of the whole Olympic team, like not Olympic team, but Olympic thingy, right? The whole game. And she's like, you, because there's a whole mystery thing, you have to tell me about the mystery. It's like, okay, I'll tell you, but nobody else can know. And it was like,
okay,
it was so annoying, and it was like, it was awful, and I gave up at 49% because I was like, there's also what I call forced inclusiveness, but it's basically making sure that everybody knows that your book has that your book is inclusive, and that it has characters from different like from the LGBTQ community, from like, you know, different races and everything. It's so not subtle that it's just jarring, and it's annoying, and I don't want to read that. That's why we gave up on the, at least I gave up on that. We
Once
read
and Future.
Once and Future, right?
Yeah.
Because it was basically people being like, she meets like different teams, like from different countries. So basically this is her, because we follow everything through her eyes. Oh my god, that's the Russian team, you know, everyone on this team is from the LGBT community, you know, he's like blah blah blah, she's blah blah blah, no. And it's like, can you be subtle about the whole thing? And then I'm like, it's YA. Like, YA needs to like hit you over the head with things. It's not meant for me, and I didn't like it, and I just gave up. And that is basically it for me. And I think I'm gonna stop reading now for the rest of the month for 3 days, because no. Okay. What else did you read?
Oh, wait, so we already mentioned Convenience Store Woman, so I'm gonna skip that and just move on to my final book, and that is Act Your Age, Eve Brown.
Yay!
By Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, which I have read all of now. So this is the story of Eve, who is kind of the like black sheep of the family. She literally can't hold a steady job. She like switches universities, interests all the time, and like she's just being, she is considered by her family to be kind of a disaster, which is, I'll mention again, one of the things that really bothered me about the whole book is how the family was actually mistreating her a lot. Because like in both of the first two books, like the family, it's not as present, but the family is very, you get this feeling that they're very supportive, connected. Like Chloe has like what's her fibromyalgia?
Yeah,
I think so. Like, and everybody's supportive and understands, and like and everybody's so supportive, and like Eve is the only one that's kind of almost, although she's the baby of the family, who all usually gets all the attention and the support, is like who is like it bothered me there was like this scene where she talks to the family, where she kind of stands up to them and says like, you know, but you are also to blame for this situation because you kind of, you know, pushed me to this. And like I was so mad that like they could understand it with the other two, but they couldn't understand it with her. Like it just got like, it got to me. And anyways, the only thing basically that she has is music. She really likes music. She constantly listens to music. And after one of these fights with her family, she, you know, kind of goes to, like, she just goes on and drives and ends up in a little town where she sees that like a bed and breakfast is looking for a cook, and she can cook and bake, and like she loves doing that. And she applies for the job there, but basically immediately after the application, she hits the owner of the bed and breakfast with her car, and he breaks his arm, and she's basically forced to stay there and help him to take care of the bed and breakfast while he gets better. And well, they're like, it's some kind of actually forced proximity trope, where he is at the start very almost like her family, like, okay, she's bad at this, she's bad at this. Like, he doesn't like her because he is on the spectrum. He clearly immediately says that at the beginning of the book. And, you know, he likes his things to be like prim, proper. He has, you know, like rules, organization, and she's like
chaos.
She's chaos. And I mean, I think they really complemented each other well as they got to know each other. I actually really like in this one the smut part, because I like that they were actually adventurous
and communicate a
bit more adventurous than in the other books, and like there was some stuff that I wasn't expecting, and it was just like really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I still like Danny's story best. I don't know, I think I felt almost like Jacob towards Eve. Like it really took some time for me to warm up to her, because I was like, I don't like, I know it's my thing, but I don't like people that are disorganized, that they don't know what they want. Like she is the type of person, like in the beginning of the book, that's just like like I'm like her family. It's so bad. But I think that's why I needed time to warm up to her. But in the end, I did, and it was really such a nice book, like, to read. I really think I read it in 2 days. Like, I just...
Yeah, I was, after I read the book, I was looking at the reviews, and people were saying how sort of the family and the girls, like Chloe and Danny, basically changed personalities in this third book. And basically, they didn't act the way they acted in the first 2 books. So that was like sort of a critique for that one. But yeah. That's a good book. I like it. Yep.
And now we're finally done.
At the end of our wrap up.
If you stayed until this point, kudos to you. So many kudos we are sending your way, because like...
So those were the books we read in August. There are some important links to check out down below about situations happening around the world. So please do check them out.
Yes. Press the bell... Do we say please like, share, subscribe? Press the bell button if you want to get notifications whenever we post new videos. Thank you so much for watching.
And we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.